So I don't know if you fans have paid attention to some of the other Stanley Cup playoff matchups, but in Edmonton and in Vancouver and in Winnipeg, they are getting lauded for the way that they have shown up and supported their hockey teams. And it's a lot of the same stuff, right? Public gatherings for these games. Winnipeg does the whiteout, but it was a madhouse in those arenas. You should have seen, if you weren't watching yesterday, and it gets quiet sometimes when the team's trailing. I think the Winnipeg fans were shell-shocked, especially yesterday. But you should have heard that arena when the Winnipeg Jets kill off a 4-minute power play. And then, boom, they put one in the back of Colorado's net. And it was nuts in there. And some of the other buildings have been great, too. This isn't just the Canadian markets. Like the scenes from Carolina when they came back and ripped the hearts out of the New York Islanders, that was incredibly loud, too. But I've been saying this for a while, and I'm going to continue to say it again. One of the, I think, recent issues with this team is there's not the same connection with the players and the fan base as there has been in years past. And part of that is social media, and you're more likely to soak up the bad than the good. And so if you're a player and you've got it, which all of these guys do, and you're looking at your mentions or you're reading the stuff, it's like you're seeing the haters and you're going, man, this isn't worth it. There's more media contingent here for sure. Fine, whatever that's worth. And they're harder on you than they would be in Anaheim. And so that's a part of it too. There's drawbacks here, right? Taxation is tougher here. You are living in Canada. Even for these rich players, like real estate, there's certain things that play for these guys where their money is not going as far as it would in other places. They're the same as you and me. In that regard, just, different in terms of the things that they're looking at. But one thing you're supposed to have, one thing you are absolutely lock it down supposed to have in a Canadian market is when you go to a Stanley Cup playoff game, it's a zoo. It's a zoo here because the fans go crazy for it. And I think that the Leafs barn has been fine. It's been okay. It's probably sometimes overly criticized because it's a soft and easy target. But it can be a bit of a graveyard. And it has grown to have a reputation as a place where when things start to go wrong, you can feel the energy of the fan base get to the players. And I'm not making excuses for this team. Like, they're the ones who have to show up. They're the ones that are getting paid. You're the ones paying to see them. They've got to show up, do their jobs. And I think if they do, that Leaf fans will be loud. But if you are going tonight, remember how lucky you are to be there. Appreciate how you are. Even if, I'm sure you worked really hard to get into that building. Sure, you've done a lot of things to accomplish being in those seats. But, God, I would say have a little bit of point of pride. Like, look at those other Canadian markets and say, this is the one place where you can actually have a bit of an impact. And I know this is probably like a little cheesy to do this, but, man, the little civic pride here. Looking at Winnipeg, looking at Vancouver, looking at Edmonton, the way those arenas are, don't you want that here? Don't you feel like that can have some kind of an edge here? Anyways, stand up and stay loud tonight if you're going down to the hockey game. Sid Seixeiro, Breakfast Television. What's up, man? How are you doing? You going?
No.
You're a big wig. You could go. That's kind of, that's a mark against you, actually, is like you could easily go. You could go.
I think, no, let me rephrase that. I probably could go.
Probably.
You are correct.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Oh.
But look, I gotta, school nights for me are different than they used to be.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's fine.
But and I need me some Elliott 3-minute intermission. I can't not have a little Friedge and a little Bieksa, a little Ron. I gotta say, first off, is this when Mike Feud and Christopher Sieg the last 2 days I have to praise your rant? I was listening to. Nice rant.
Chris didn't praise my rant, actually. So.
I don't know. I thought he praised.
No, he didn't praise. He tries to cut me down. Honestly, he tries to cut me down, and I do my best, but it's tough. When you have people in your circle that they're you know how it is. There's some people that they're
I know how it is.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you.
I hate it, but we love those people because we need those people.
Yeah, we do.
But look, here's what. Let's get into it. Because I'm still shook at the cover of the Toronto Sun that I just saw an hour ago.
Yeah.
Did you catch that?
Yeah. You upset with it?
I read Simmons' piece. The cover's way worse than the piece.
Of course.
And it's not like Steve was kind. Steve was just spinning some actual facts.
Yeah.
But wow. Anyway, I want to get to that in a second.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not on you on the crowd tonight.
Okay.
I'm not. I can't. You're right. It's been electric in other markets. 100%. 100%. This is the moment. This crowd has been cultivated by this team. The team has made them what they've become, which is nervous.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're ready to explode at any given time. Like, social media back in 2015 was the same kind of as it is now, but what changed with the Jays? Jay said to hell with it. And the whole place got behind him. It's not hard in this city. It's not. Go out and do your job. Go out. That arena tonight, it's never going to be TD Garden for noise to that level, to just start organically. It just isn't like that. But this is the 2-game stretch, JD. I don't give a damn what that crowd is doing or not doing. It's on the guys. I've had it with that argument. I've had it. And you're right. It's an engaging one, and we can talk about it for hours. It is not the responsibility of this crowd to wind them up. Mitch Marner woke up this morning, and he was pseudo on the cover of a newspaper in this city with the title "The Invisible Man."
Mm-hmm.
If that's not your motivation, Dave in 124 isn't going to get you going. That's not happening. So for once, I'm going to blow right past the crowd thing, because I'm usually right there with you.
Yep.
I'm not there now.
Okay.
The stakes are way higher, and these guys got to be adults and go out and do their jobs. That will get the crowd behind you in ways you haven't seen before in this city if you do it for a month and a half.
Yeah. Don't disagree with you. This is on the players. This isn't on the fans. I don't think that they're the ones who lace them up. I don't think that they're the ones who get the millions of dollars. Completely agree. Players need to go out there, be self-motivated, and find a way to unlock it. What I think I'm driving at more is I don't know if the players... You hosted the Conn Smythe dinner, and I've been thinking about this since then, dude. This is a take that was spawned from that evening, watching those older Maple Leafs, watching Sittler talk about what it meant to be a Leaf, watching Tiger talk about what it meant to be a Leaf. Those guys and the connection that they feel to this team and the community that they felt with this team, I don't think it's the same. And part of that is era. But when you go to this arena, it is very corporate. It can be very sterile. You've been to a lot of these games. I've been to a lot of these games. The arena does not have the feeling sometimes of, holy crap, it's a crazy raucous fan. You know where you're more likely to get that when you're a Leaf fan, where you feel that connectivity? It's where they saw it in Buffalo this year, where the Leafs went down to Buffalo. They had this incredible night, and they see the fans, and they go, oh, right, these are the crazy diehards that love this team. I do want that. I do want that connection between these players and this fan base to happen, and I think the best shot is come Stanley Cup playoffs, because I do think that more of the diehards show up for these games. And if you look back at, the Missing Curfew account does a really good job of this. They take like old clips all the time and they fire them up on social media, and I go, oh, yes. And when you see those early 2000s playoff crowds, when the Leafs were routinely in the playoffs and having some measure of success and were extremely liked and there was no social media, the arena was... it kicked ass. It was crazy in there. It was a madhouse in there. So, no, I hope that both things can be true. I hope the players do their jobs, and I hope that, the fans feel connected, stay loud, and, that the players on the ice understand, like, what this team actually means to this city and what it means to the vast majority of these fans. Okay, let's get into the Marner thing then. You think that was unfair? Because I looked at that and I just kind of giggled, and I'm like, yeah, that's what they do with these headlines. Like, it's provocative, and they try to get this exact reaction on social media. But I do think it's funny that this particular writer incites such strong feelings from social media when literally everybody, including myself, has been criticizing Mitch Marner for the last 48 hours. Like, nothing has changed.
Like, hey, Steve, that's for us. Leave that alone.
Yeah, like everyone's had this.
It's a ridiculous thing. You're right. Like, you're bang on in the take. That's the whole Steve Simmons brand, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
But again, that column he wrote that they posted yesterday, I read it last night.
I didn't read it yet.
It's kind of not unfair.
Okay.
Like, he's just going, like, what's wrong with saying he has one goal in his last 11 playoff games?
Nothing.
In
fact, we should probably mention it more. Imagine this was New York and this was the Jets.
Oh my God.
Like,
imagine if this was New York. Like, this is what bothers me. Like, that column last night is as strong as you're going to see in the city. Mm-hmm. It's as strong as and in the column, Steve also admits he's one of the best wingers in the National Hockey League statistically, and has been for years. Like, all the things are true. But there was something about this moment. There was something about this stretch with Mitch that is just feels different. And it's the contract coming up.
Yep.
And everyone knows what's going on here. And I still think fans have fully grasped what Keith Pelly is going to mean here. But it feels like there's a lot on the line. Like Matthews has won over the crowd. He's Russell Crowe in Gladiator.
100%.
He's won over the crowd.
Yes.
And he's won his freedom from the press.
Yes.
Mitch has not done that.
Actually, it'd be great if they chanted Maximus tonight if he scores. I just want to say, that'd be great.
Hopefully, I'm gonna catch that on TC Turner Classic coming up. I love that movie.
Oh yeah.
I feel it just feels very unique. Like it feels like these are the most important 2 games of Mitch's career in this city, in that building. Mm-hmm. And I hate to put that on one guy who plays like 31% of the hockey game, but that's where we're at. And if and I've been thinking about this ever since I saw the Toronto Sun cover today. Mm-hmm. Is that unfair? I don't think it is, because everything Mitch has asked of the city and the organization, he's got. Mm-hmm. No hometown discount. He's gotten to play with 34, and for the most part, he's been given a lot of rope here. Now, I go back to that tweet from earlier this year, and I know you can cite who wrote it because I can't. Who threw the tweet out there about a stat with Mitch? And at the end, he wrote, "A local guy with those numbers, surely he is beloved." Do you remember that tweet?
I do remember this tweet, but I can't say.
It was a classic tweet.
Yeah, it really was. It was a banger. I saw it and I felt deep jealousy because I went, this is a tweet I could have had. You know, like I can't do a lot of tweets. But that one I was like, damn, I could have gotten that one. That was
just a really smart. I know what you're saying. I thought the same thing. It was just really smart.
Yeah, it was.
Sitting there, just if you could smell the feeling in the city, it was just right there.
Yeah.
But I believe now. My concern. Look, I might be one of the few people in the city that believes this because this is how it goes. When a guy's getting piled up on, sometimes he does come through. Mm-hmm. I think Mitch is getting on the board. Mm. And I think he's getting it tonight. Mm-hmm. What I'm afraid of is if the booing starts.
That's interesting, the booing. Okay, so I actually think that this is a super fascinating conversation for a multitude of different reasons. But let me just start by saying this. I'm going to do a couple of qualifiers here. One is that I think in general, when it's a day like today, there's a certain section of the fan base that even hears us talking about it, and they're like, please just be positive and just say good things. It's a day of you're doing a doom spiral, or you're doing like a negativity talk, and you're doing a thing. And it's like we're very conditioned now, I think, through social media because everything is so polarizing and all the algorithms work that way where it's like the only reason that you're actually seeing it if you don't follow that person, you're not there at that exact time, is because people have taken a stance on it. And usually that stance is you've picked one side or the other, right? And so that's how something like this ends up rising to the top. Mitch Marner being one of the highest paid players in hockey, part of the most visible hockey team in this country, one of the best wingers in the entire game, but never having really a long stretch of awesome play in the postseason is a huge, huge story. He was good last year against Tampa, and then he failed to show up in the next series. Like, he didn't have an impact on it. You go year over year, he started off against Boston, it was good, and then he had a drought, and then it was finally fine against Tampa. Of course these questions are here. The question has always been, does this core four work? And when we're examining these games, and he's the guy that's underperforming the most and who isn't, over or past his prime, let's say, when it comes to John Tavares, clearly he's going to get discussed. I actually don't think that the media here is particularly hard. I think that for the most part, it's fairly reasonable and educated, and most fans just want authenticity, and there really isn't the same market as there is in the States for just like being hot for the sake of being hot. The problem is that we have so many people. We have so many people that provide a take that when you look at the end of it, it's like everyone has an opinion on Mitch Marner, and a lot of people end up having the same thing. And then it gets to a point where it feels like bullying. It feels like a guy is underwater with this thing. And it's like no one has an agenda here. No one's trying to communicate this in a way that's unfair. People are just trying to share their opinion. And the opinion about Mitch Marner right now is that he's been the invisible man for this team in the playoffs.
He has. And I know the points are there. We can have a whole separate discussion about, okay, well, if he's a point-a-game guy, how important are the goals this time of year? Uh-huh. Because I go back and forth on that, too. I mean, okay, you're a point-a-guy guy in the playoff. Are we talking goals? Are we talking third period time goals? What are we talking about with the points? Mm-hmm. rack them up in blowouts all you want. But what are we really talking about? So I sometimes struggle with that. But I just feel like this is the weird moment with Mitch where it's not media contrived. My wife went through a grocery store yesterday, okay? Mm-hmm. She walks in within 3 minutes in the produce section. She overhears two people talking, and all she hears is, Marner has to get going.
This is not a social... or in the series?
No, in the series.
Yeah.
In the series.
Because I've heard the other one a lot.
No, we've all heard the other one. But this guy was like, Marner's got to get on the board. This is not a social media-driven thing. Mm-mm. This is not a media-driven thing. This is the thing that has to happen or they don't win. Mm-hmm. And any fan, any media member, any member of that organization knows it. The fans want what's due to them considering what's been given to Mitch, which has been a lot. They see it with Austin. Willie blew everyone's doors in to start the year. You kind of saw it with him. Mm-hmm. And Willie's been the best playoff guy notoriously on the team. Mm-hmm. I think it's all coming to a head here.
Totally agree.
And it's not your typical, stereotypical, that's just this, that, or other. No. It's any fan who's watching. It's your paying customers who are watching. People who will be there tonight who are watching. And they've said, now is the time. We're not doing the thing where we just pay you for a first-round loss anymore. We're kind of tired of that. So now what? And they want the success. And they want Mitch to have hero moments. And they want all the things. And I think that's all fair. I just think that's to me, the discussion is it fair or unfair? No. It is super fair. Now, I wouldn't have put the kid on the cover of a newspaper. I thought that was a little much, but that's what that newspaper does, is what it is. Because I thought the column was kind of fair from Steve. I didn't think it was over the top.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like New York Post, Toronto Star. Like, that's the way that they get engagement. Newspapers are, fighting for their lives. A lot of media is fighting for their lives, and this is the currency that we've created. And so I don't know. I don't get as upset as other people do with that. I guess it's more like part of the game that I just kind of wipe away. But no, you're bang on with Mitch, dude. Like, you're feeling what I think everybody's feeling here. And again, that is the vast majority of what I think are Leaf fans right now, is what you said there about he's been handed everything. And there's another part of this too. Max Domi, who does resonate with this fan base, who people do think has the stuff that Mitch doesn't in terms of like the get it factor, right? He had success with Austin Matthews. Austin Matthews went without Mitch Marner, and guess what he did? He still got damn near close to 70 goals. He was still dominant throughout that stretch of play without Mitch Marner. So now it used to be one thing to go, well, it's a little disappointing, but it's these two guys together, and they're always attached to the hip, and Matthews needs him, and he wants him, and how much of his success is Marner's success, blah, 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 blah. Now we've seen proof of concept that Austin Matthews can continue to dominate, including these two first playoff games, without the assistance of Mitch Marner on his line. And now we're also seeing Mitch play without Austin Matthews in hopes that he can drive a line, which is the expectation of a player of his salary, and it isn't happening. So you're right. He can win everybody over if he dominates. He can win everybody over. He can shut everybody up. But just, you got to do it. There's no more. It's the same thing that with Vladdy right now. Like, there's no more promise. It's do. Go and do. And then people will finally start to get behind you.
100%. But like, even Vladdy's play last night, not to divert too much on you, but like even Vladdy's play last night, I wasn't as upset at that as I was at the stat I read in my timeline that he has one extra base hit in his last 51 at-bats.
Yeah.
What is that?
I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
It's like, do we need Jose, Edwin, and Donaldson in the dugout to help him? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah.
It's getting worse.
Yep.
Anyway, but this pressure is real. If Vladdy wants 9 figures out of this organization,
same thing.
That's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the only good thing I saw the Jays do in the offseason was take him to arbitration, even if they lost. I don't care. You do not just at face value say no problem. No. The city has a terrible history of doing that, and someone has to end the insanity. And I was thankful the Jays did that. It was the only correct thing they did the entire offseason, that and Justin Turner.
You know what, though, Sid? It's like when some of this does come down to the fact that now we get everybody's opinion and we see what everyone has to say about something. And again, it's human nature to... Like it's part of your biology to see negative criticism and take it in more than positive criticism. Some people think it's like a survival instinct thing, right? Like if someone tells you don't go over there, you're going to listen to it more than go over there. It's just tied into our DNA. But now we see everything, so the breadth of opinion, so you end up taking in a couple of people who are like upset because you'll be critical of a player. But I do think that a large part of why people are afraid of the level of criticism that a Vladimir Guerrero Jr. gets or a Mitch Marner gets, because those two guys are both in the eye of the storm right now, is that there still is there's always been an inferiority complex with this city and sports. And some of that has now pivoted to the Toronto Maple Leafs as well. Because before this core four, it was always like, well, if you ever get the Stars, man, they would really want to play here and they would want to stay here and you'd want to win here. And now we've kind of grown up and we've seen this play out and you go, it's a bit of a myth. Like they'll play here for the most amount of money, right? Like they'll do that. But to just be here or put a price on Toronto that is, winning here means more, like that has kind of evaporated and dissipated. And so I think that part of this, when people stand up and they go, hey, don't even mention this. Be talking about the game. Be talking about how the power play can get better or how great Austin Matthews is or focus on something else. And there's too much pressure on Vladdy. Some of it comes from the same fans that have seen, right, like Vince Carter leave and go, oh, my God, we can't. We're basically like we can't keep a good partner. We're insecure. And so it bleeds through, I think, in these moments where it's fair to criticize athletes who don't show up in big moments. It's fair to criticize athletes who do it repeatedly. And it's fair to do your job and try to break down why they're not doing that. But yeah, just for some people, they're like, this might be one little notch in the ledger that pushes them out the door.
But that, and like I had someone say to me the other day, he goes, I'm worried about this Mitch and Vladdy stuff. And I said, for the obvious reasons or for other reasons? He goes, other reasons. I go, what do you mean? He goes, if you're going to take the kind of heat sometimes you can take in the Canadian city or in Toronto, you better not be paying those kind of taxes too.
Yeah. Listen, the money
double
thing is
whammy no one talks about. Yes.
Oh, I talk about it all the time.
Double whammy. No, you do. Yeah, but not a ton of other folks do.
Yeah. Oh, I'm aware of it.
Once in a while, we'll hear a story about a lawsuit and Tavares and Batista and whatever.
Yeah,
but
you're like, wait, what?
It's a story no one wants to really get into. But
no, it's pretty easy. You just go look at what the $10 million means to the guy in Vegas versus what the $10 million means to the guy in Toronto. You can figure out real fast with a Google search.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
You can go look at what a house looks like in Las Vegas in the suburbs and what you can buy for a couple $1 million versus what you get for a couple $1 million in Toronto. It's not hard to figure out. I think most people are pretty hip to it now.
For sure. Where do you want to take? I had a Domi thing. Where do you want to take?
No, go there.
What do you want to do? Because I was listening to you. I was listening to a few people over the last couple of days. Mm-hmm. The notion of Sheldon Keefe ripping Max after the first game. Mm-hmm. I'm not a fan of it either, but it worked.
And he was right.
And he was right. Like Max was a complete stayed out of the box and was amazing.
Yep.
That's all Sheldon's kind of talking about, right? Like
Two huge points.
I didn't get the vitriol at Sheldon, a guy who's been ripping his players publicly all season with the energy of a horse running in an open field.
Yeah.
Just it's a new world for Sheldon. I just have to walk back anything.
No.
And I thought that one Saturday was well deserved. Like I didn't feel towards that the way some people felt. Now, I had to see how it played out the next game because if Max was a disaster, I'd have a different opinion, but he wasn't. Mm-hmm. He took every ounce of that criticism, which was a short one. He played his game the way he did, stay out of the damn box, and he was amazing. I thought it worked, which is why I was a little confused with how strongly people felt towards it.
So did you see the PK Subban stuff?
I missed it. Forgive me.
Okay, well, I thought that's what you were insinuating because he went on Pat McAfee and he called it – I think we actually have the quotes, Jose. It's like he's called it – I think he said it was a gong show. Yeah. Play – you got the clip? Can you pot it up for Sid? Because, play this one because I think this is what you are driving at. You can play it right now.
It's a bit of a gong show in Toronto with the media and the coach. I don't think he handles the media correctly in Toronto. If you want my real opinion on it, I don't think he handles it well. And that's just my opinion. That doesn't mean that it's wrong the way he handles it. That's just my opinion. I don't think he handles it well. And who knows? I don't know. Players get into it with coaches all the time. I'm not going to speculate that. But what I do need to say is this. The Toronto Maple Leafs, there's no excuses. I ain't giving them any excuses.
Okay, yeah, we got it. That's the clip. I will say this. This is my thought on the Keefe stuff. He clearly puts his foot in his mouth as a head coach with the media. He says stuff like the dumbest one last week with this doesn't help our team or whatever with the Matthews goal.
That was an all-timer.
Are you kidding, man? So he's an emotional guy, and he gets up at that podium, and he lets it fly sometimes. And I joke with the guys behind the glass all the time whenever we get these Keefe quotes. I feel like every night he goes home and he's on his drive, he's like Chris Farley in the car hitting himself like, oh, idiot. You know, why did you say that? Why did you just have to let that loose? Because this happens all the time. But the team is frustrating. And one of the weapons I really do believe at his disposal, and I mentioned this yesterday, I think, is that coaching through the media here has to work. Because guess what? Some of the other stuff hasn't. We've seen him in the dressing room with the 24/7 series, yelling at his group and trying to get them to emotionally respond. And the way he interacts with players, like he's a hard ass. He's huge with the details, right? He doesn't pick his battles. Like he seems to sweat the small stuff as well as the big stuff. It's really hard for him to let things go, is my read on him and what I've heard from other people. But I think there's an added layer with him of he is not one of us in the greater hockey community. And that the sins of his past and the connections that he has had all the way back to his junior hockey days when he is a teenager, that he is still paying for those when it comes to the way people speak about him in this game.
Yeah, potentially. I think it's a valid point. You know, definitely there is an intensity. There's like a subtle intensity with everything he does.
Buddy, he's not part of the boys club. Like he's not, and again, he's not Craig Berube, where it's like people are like, oh man, Craig Berube, like he's got the bona fides and he's beloved. It's like, this is a very, very different thing in terms of other guys in hockey.
True, but I'll give him this, just based on things I've heard. Mm-hmm. He does. I know it seems like an easy thing to say, but like he does really care about what he's doing with this group.
Yes,
he's the type of guy. He's not gonna, like, you order him a car, he doesn't come out late. Like he is a very professional dude.
Yes,
and he has one of the best regular season records this organization's ever seen. So like these things about Sheldon Keefe we have to put on the table. I do believe you do have to, like you got to handle the media. I think PK was right in 99% of what he said in that clip. You have to handle the media a certain way in this city because they won't turn on you often. When they do, you better know how to handle it. And I agree with him. I didn't think Saturday with Max was one of those times. I thought not only was he correct, but it worked the next game because Domi cut that garbage out, or he let Tyler do it, or McCabe or whoever. Mm-hmm. And he did what he was supposed to do, which was ride a very good shotgun to Austin and to get as many chances as he could. So man, the things we're watching with this team right now that don't necessarily have that much to do with what's going on game in and game out. Like, this is one of the most interesting franchises in professional sport. I would challenge anyone. I would challenge anyone from a content standpoint, from what I would do on a daily basis, what you do on a daily basis. I mean, it's good times.
I don't even know who rivals them, to be honest. Like, I'm scanning my brain right now trying to think about, like, who is even...
Lakers?
No, because the Lakers, it's played out. It's been overdone. You want to talk about, like, who's had too many opinions on a team. I'm watching. I've got what's Stephen A. I always forget. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but there's Stephen A's is called which one? First Take? No.
First Take, yeah.
Okay, he's First Take. Okay, because, I always first up, First Take. I get the names confused. I run his show in my studio it's just in the background, and it's like I see LeBron up there every day. It doesn't matter what day it is. It's like LeBron is on the screen. Like I see it. They beat it to death. Like, you think the Leafs get beaten to death? Imagine that on just like a national scale in the States with all the eyeballs they have. Here's my thing with Sheldon. I actually don't care about the media stuff. I think that it's stupid when he says the things like Matthews, and I chuckle about it, but it doesn't bother me. The things that bother me more so are the strategic things, the fact that it'll take him so long to move off of something, or he'll try something that doesn't work. And then I'll have former players or, even sometimes, guys who have coached who will tell me things and be like, this was actually a problem. Because I think it's like for guys like you and me where they're like, oh, this wasn't well coached or this wasn't a thing. We can parse from those stuff and we can see certain things that are themes. like a group's buy-in, for example, to me is always like coaching, right? And their structure is that. But when certain guys who like really break it down seem to criticize him every single time when it comes to the playoffs, that's the one where I go, okay, maybe they're onto something. But the media stuff, like as a media guy, I enjoy it. It gives me content. Anybody that gives me content, I'm like, thank you.
People listen. You do an amazing job. There are a handful of people in Canada that do this job very, very well, and content at this level is just rare to have waterfalls of it. And the Leafs organization finds a way for a team that is not even giving you upper or lower body on William Nylander.
Yeah.
How ignorant is that? We don't even deserve upper or lower body updates anymore from this organization. That's a whole nother discussion.
Okay, go there.
Go ahead.
Doesn't it? Okay. Because they've allowed us to speculate, may we speculate?
100%.
Is it fair? Because this is now the segment. Maybe we'll do this. You and I we'll call a segment. Is it fair? And we'll discuss whether or not it's fair to criticize a certain athlete at a certain time or a team for the way that they've handled something. So Sid Seixeiro, is it fair that we can speculate about what is going on with the William Nylander saga, considering they will say no update on Willie and that's all we get?
Yes.
Okay. So
yes. It's fair, but I'm uncomfortable with it.
Yeah,
I'm uncomfortable with it because dude, I can tell you a quick story about breakfast television here?
Yeah, of course.
Because I'm still rattled by this one.
Yeah.
So there was a story that broke about the royal family about a month and a half ago.
Yes.
Okay. It involved Associated Press, Reuters.
Yep.
Getty Images, for people who don't know, like some of the longest standing news organizations in the world, who came together and said, that photo's fake.
Yep.
It wasn't me. It wasn't JD. It wasn't some dude on Twitter. It was like that kind of source.
Yep. I remember it.
So you run with a story for a while, and then because you get no information, you don't know, and then the truth comes out, and you feel like complete dog crap for even speculating on this.
Yeah.
That was not that long ago in my world here.
Yep.
There's a part of me that has shut off when it comes to blind medical speculation.
I don't want to speculate about what it is. This is what I want to speculate about.
But then what's the conversation? If we're not speculating on what it is, what's the conversation?
This is the conversation, is the fact that the Leafs have constantly gone, no updates, that there's a sentiment of, well, he could return in the series. He might not return in the series. That the ambiguity around the injury has led me to believe that the Leafs are kind of trotting this one out there going, it's in his hands. It's not in ours. It's not in our doctor's hands. It's in his. And I think that they're basically putting all the responsibility on the player. From a PR, from a speculation standpoint, this feels like most people are interpreting it now as like it's William Nylander's decision whether he goes or not. And I don't even know how you could kind of pick the other conclusion.
So you're saying this has an Alec Manoah feel to it at the end of last season?
I'm saying that this has like the team, it's backfired from the standpoint of, I think your job as a team is to protect the player, not just from injury, but from conversations like this. And by doing it this way, instead of just being like, Willie's banged up, we're hoping he can come back in this series. And, hey, we're hoping at some point he can come back, but today is not the day. And being more fervent in the fact that, like, the injury is real, that it has opened up the door for them being like, hey, fans, media, people, when you're speculating about what it could be, because that's what we're all doing. We're trying to figure out what it could be. We're at least coming up with theories, that there is an underlying tone of it's up to him, not up to doctors. When it's up to doctors, people go, yep, okay, the doctors decided. When it's up to the player, there's the insinuation of, well, maybe there's something else going on.
But even, valid point. But even if that's the case, okay, your fan base has watched 7 straight playoff flameouts.
Yep.
That guy hasn't missed a game since 2016.
Exactly. He has those bona fides. That's why he's not taking it. That's why no one's really questioning it. I don't think. Anyways, not in my circles. I haven't seen anyone be like, oh, I think he's soft, and that's why he's not playing.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not going there at all.
Yeah.
But like, I don't believe the out of nowhere injury deserves a 100% non-answer, which is what we got.
Yeah.
And it could be right. It could be Willie and team doctors maybe aren't agreeing. I mean, who knows what's going on here?
Yeah.
And if that's the case, things get really awkward. But it is to your point, normally protecting the athlete's important. I think protecting the awkwardness in the room and around the room is just as important.
Agree.
Right now. So that philosophy, and again, Sheldon threw Bradshaw living under a pretty quick bus on it. And if he wants to do that, that's fine. Somebody made the decision. We're going to handle this our way. I'm stunned no one in the media has leaked it.
I don't think anybody knows.
Stunned. I think people know. I think people know more than they know.
Okay.
Or more than what we think they know. Now, can you verify? Can you source it? That's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
But it
Elliot
was not that
knows.
long ago. Someone in the media blurted out what Mitch's deal was.
Yeah.
Wasn't that long ago. So I don't know what the difference is.
Yeah.
But it just feels the way they've handled it. Look, he's hurt. It is what it is. But the lack of anything is a new level. If I had a friend who consistently bet on NHL playoff hockey, I'd slap them across the face.
Don't you dare, because
stop doing that.
No, I do, and I won't stop.
JD, you have they believe you're entitled to no information. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
I do.
Why do you do that? Why?
I won yesterday.
Why did you do that?
I liked
that. Oh, you won?
Okay. Well, I mean, I only bet on one hockey game yesterday, and that was
Good
Colorado.
job.
Thanks.
But you know the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
I do not understand how blind from an information standpoint the league believes we need to be. Mm-hmm. I get why the team believes that. How the league hasn't kind of rectified this at some level is kind of shocking to me, considering the new world we live in.
I just asked Luke Fox about it. You know what he told me? He's like, the league has no interest in changing it. I went, that's so shocking to me. With all the advent of gambling and all the news. Just how? Like, how are they so far behind? I just want a report, man. Like, just have an injury report. Like, I don't need something as detailed as the NFL. It's not like the NFL is 100%, but like something. Anyway, that's been on my brain for a couple of days. It is a brave soul who, in this NHL lack of information environment, puts down on playoff hockey. A brave, brave soul. Sid, thanks for coming on today, brother. This was always great. We'll talk to you soon. Enjoy the game tonight. Appreciate you, man. Take care. See you, pal. Sid Seixeiro, Breakfast Television.